You're welcome back. You're still watching Business Incorporated on Channels Television. Let's go to Ethiopia now, where the International Monetary Fund has failed to update data on Ethiopia's economic recovery for 2022. Now, this is a rare move reserved for war-torn countries and failed states that's causing uncertainty within the business community as well as investors. While the IMF has made no explicit reference to the Tigray War, analysts say that the ongoing conflict is the most likely reason why the multilateral lender has withheld its predictions for Ethiopia's economic recovery in 2022. So investors are already uncertain about Ethiopia, but what are the other likely impacts? We have international financial analyst Opelua Dako Thomas bearing his mind on this. Hello, Opelua. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
So this obviously doesn't give good signals to investors and businesses in Ethiopia.
Yes, it doesn't give a good signal. What it presents is risk, and now the risk are just heightened because basically, as an investor, from an investment standpoint, if I'm coming in with foreign exchange and foreign capital, and I'm not seeing any data forecast, then how do I invest in that country? There's no way I'm going to invest in that country. And you know that basically before the pandemic and before the Tigray war that we're going through, Ethiopia has been growing steadily, average 10% every year since 2010 to 2019, and this is data from World Bank. But then again, we had the pandemic, and no one is going to invest in a country where we can't get projections. Projections came out for different countries, and you've rightly said that this is basically for war-torn countries. Other countries that don't have this sort of data are Afghanistan, Syria, and Libya. So what does this mean for Ethiopia, and what does this mean for potential Ethiopian investors? They're just going to say, no, I'm not bringing my money in. There's no way I'm going to invest, because IMF really has been, what I call them, the big uncle in the economic world, where they're trying to monitor and oversee international financial stability and monetary cooperation among different countries. So for them not to bring out data is typically what I call it, an economic vote of no confidence, and there's no way investment is going to come into the country.
So just to be sure, does it mean they don't have the data, or they just don't want to share it? You know, what does it say? I know the IMF hasn't given reason for this, but what picture does it paint? Does it paint that they didn't bother trying to get the forecast, or yeah, they want to give a signal out there, and that's why they have refused to share it? Well,
I mean, one thing about data forecast, one thing we have to look at is accuracy. There's no way you can make an accurate data analysis if you're not really sure what's going to happen. Because now we've seen in the back of the last year, different coup in different African countries. So you can't give a projection and someone's going to make an investment on that projection you've given. Like I said, IMF is a dominant institution. If I'm going to invest, I'm going to look at what IMF has said. So they don't want to give a green light or a green signal and say, okay, we are, I mean, the data are quite important. There's real GDP, current account balance, and unemployment with current consumer prices. So these things are very, very, very suspect to any sort of volatility. And when there's no political stability, there's no way you can make these projections. And this war has been going on for a year. So with a pandemic and a war, there's no way you're going to make any projections for the next year. So this basically is the problem here.
So from your view now, how much damage has the Tigray War caused to businesses in Ethiopia?
Well, it's a very, 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 very important question. It's a lot of damage. The government has spent millions and almost billions of dollars trying to defeat the Tigrayan Liberation Front. So, like I said earlier, no one's going to invest in a community where, in a country where the government is focusing on crime, where the government is causing war crimes, humanitarian crisis here. And in the area of Tigray now, we've seen that they have torn off the banking systems, they've torn off electricity, there's basically no communications in that area. 5 million people live in Tigray, 2 million people are fed, 400,000 people are having famine problems. So at the end of the day, you're looking at these numbers, and it shows that it's going to get worse. And this is, like I said, this fight has been on for a year. There's really no end in sight. We are looking at UN and US. US recently said they're going to issue sanctions. So I mean, we know what sanctions does to different countries. Look at Venezuela, look at Syria, look at Libya, look at Iran. So sanctions is a bad thing. And if you are saying that we're going to bring sanctions, it's going to be a very, very difficult situation for Ethiopian people.
And how is this likely to disrupt the recovery on the bloc, the MENA, the Middle East and North Africa bloc?
Well, in terms of weightings, Ethiopia's economy does not weigh so much on MENA. I mean, MENA is, there are over 19 countries in the MENA region, the Middle East and the North African region. And you have Saudi Arabia, you have United Arab Emirates, you've got Egypt, those are big countries there. So, I mean, IMF brought out the projections and says, okay, for this year, right now, what we are seeing is 4.0%, but we're seeing that the source of improvement, 4.1%. And also going forward in 2022, they've seen that, okay, the economic recovery is going on fine in this region from 3.7 to 4%. So the Ethiopia thing is, how would I put it? It's light scale in terms of what goes on in the whole big picture. Saudi Arabia, oil prices are high, so the economy is going fast. There's a lot of vaccine rollout, different monetary measures. Saudi Arabia is doing, UAE is doing, Egypt as well. So it just does not affect anything. It's quite light in that region. But in the small picture and in the grand scheme of things, Ethiopia will actually miss out on any good dividends coming out from that area.
All right. Thank you so much, Okolua Dakpo Thomas, international financial analyst, for sharing your thoughts with us on Ethiopia this afternoon.
Thank you very much.